let's talk about the sequential data store in more detail, which is the place within Connect Data Services where data is stored and from which you retrieve it. Now, there's a couple key concepts here. Sequential data store types define the structure of the data that's being stored. You can almost think of these types as templates that define each instance in a stream of data, like what kind of properties make up each of those data events that are being sent. And the actual streams that you see right here in this big long list of streams, each of these streams contains the values or events of the same sequential data store type. And these streams, those events that arrive in them, are ordered or indexed by one or more properties. Now, so as a common example, commonly that index property is a timestamp. So looking, for instance, at this particular stream, which comes from a PyPoint, from a Pi server, it has a stream ID, it has a human-friendly name and a description. It has a type of Pi float32, which means that all events that arrive in this stream match the properties of the Pi float32 event, and it has different properties here. You can see, sure enough, it's got a property called timestamp, which is the key, which is a key, an index. So events that arrive here are going to be indexed by time. And for PyPoint specifically, that's exactly what this will look like. So if you're just working with something like a Pi server, when you sync those PyPoints up to the cloud, they will be mapped as streams. Each of those streams will have its own type ID, whether it's an integer, a float. You can see, sure enough, there's a couple different types here. Let me change that filter off. There's an int32, float32. That means all events, all data coming to each of these streams is of type int32. It's an integer. Type float32. It's a float. Now, that doesn't just mean that there's just a timestamp and a value coming to these. You can see there's lots of other properties here. We'll get to this all in a little bit more detail in our detailed description. So I keep using this word stream. So streams here, each stream you can almost think of, it's a container that holds data events. When these streams are created, they are specifically created in what we call a namespace. And you can have one or more namespaces within Connect Data Services. By default, you will just have one. Now, after that stream, when that streams are being created, you define a type for it. So you can say, okay, I want to create a stream to store integer data or float data. Well, you need a type first that says, okay, this is what integer type data or float type data is, and these are all the properties for it. And these type assignments are fixed. Once you create a stream and say that, this stream is going to store Pi int32 type data, you cannot change the type of a stream. Now, the nice thing is these are created automatically for you in a large number of cases. If you are syncing data from an on-premises AVEVA Pi server, for instance, under data collection, if you're using some of the Pi agents, or if you're doing something like pulling data from an edge data store or adapter, all the types that you will need in all of your streams get created automatically. So you don't need to worry about creating your own streams, creating your own types. The software will actually do all that for you. This is just getting into a little more detail about like what's going on under the hood and how these work. So if someone wanted to, create their own stream or their own type, this explains in a little more detail how you would do that. But in these case, these streams right here, these 1, 2, 3, these came from an on-premises AVEVA Pi server. The streams were created automatically, and before they were made, the types were defined first to let Connect Data Services know what an int32 type stream will have, what a float32 stream will have. And what I specifically mean when I talk about multiple properties is if you scroll here on the bottom right after I click one of these, you can see there is a lot of other metadata. And this will look different from something like a PyPoint. As you can see, it's got different metadata assigned to it too. I've got its interpolation mode. I've got an is questionable property, is substituted, is annotated, system state codes, digital state codes. I also have generic metadata and stream tags that are mapped to this. Again, these are not things that you would see in something like a PyData archive. So while a stream is comparable to a PyPoint, so for instance, you might have like a float32 PyPoint sending data to a Pi float32 type stream. There is more than this though. You can actually add tags and metadata to these streams as well. If you want to manage them from right here within the portal, there's some capabilities that you have for this as well. You can, of course, always manually add streams. And if I go to types, You can manually add types here as well. Here is where people with enough permissions can delete those as well. You can hit, I can hit all of these, or I can just hit a couple of these, and I can go and remove these streams. But to manage the stream data, I want to show you a couple options that you have right here. I can click on, say, this temperature stream. I can immediately hit view and trend, which will let me trend this data in the Connect Data Services trend viewer. And I can see what it looks like, say, over the last 7 days. So if anyone's ever here in the Sequential Data Store list, you pick a stream and you want to view it, you can just hit the view and trend button and view that. And here in the trend viewer, of course, you can zoom into it. You can compute quick summary calculations, see what the min and max is over a certain time range. You can share this trend session as well and share this via a URL. What you can also do is right here, you can explore the data for this as well. So if I hit view data and someone says, well, how would I view the raw values? Perfect. There's lots of ways to do this, but simply picking a stream and hitting view data lets you see a quick table. You can change your query. You can say, I want by first, last, get a range of values, specify start time, end time, or you want to count. It lets you see the values and all other properties, questionable, substituted, annotated, and its timestamp, which you can see is the index here. And I can see a quick trend of this. Now, if someone wanted to actually add manually events, you can even do that too. I can hit add event right there and actually add a brand new event at a certain time. So I could say, I'm going to add a value of 99 and save this at this particular time range. I absolutely could. I'm not going to. I don't want to contaminate this stream. But again, if someone said, okay, well, what options do I have for managing this? You can click on a stream. You can hit view. You can view the raw data here. You can look at different time ranges. If you like what you see, you can even hit download events and save all of this for access later. But lots of things you can do here to manage streams. A few final things that you can do is you can also manage the permissions for it. When I've clicked a single stream or when I've selected multiple streams, I can hit manage permissions and change the permissions that different roles have on this stream. And in case you're curious about what roles are, and we cover this in a different video, but right here you can do an awful lot with looking at what roles are assigned and what privileges. You can even bring in new roles that you've created and give different permissions for that role as well. So you can create streams, you can delete them, you can view their data, view them in a trend, and you can also manage their permissions. And then finally, you can even share those streams. Now, sharing is covered in the communities topic later, but if someone has created a community for doing data sharing with a different Connect Data Services tenant, say a different organization, what you can then do is you can go to Sequential Data Store and say, I want to share this with that tenant who's in the community. I want to share this with an external third party, a member of that who's a member of that tenant, and that tenant is a member of the community that I've set up for doing community sharing. I can hit over here, share stream, and I can say I want to share this with my data sharing community 1, and then that will add this to the list of shared streams within that community. Again, we get into much more detail about communities in a separate video, but if folks are wondering, hey, what can I do here from the Sequential Data Store page? Again, you can add streams, remove them, view their data, change permissions, look at metadata and tags, and you can even hit the sharing button to share them with a community as well, or to, unshare them if you want. Now let's look at a couple other options that we have here. I could also look at my types, of course. Again, before you ever send data, if you're doing this manually, of course, you need to hit add type and define the properties here. Again, if you're working with an adapter, Edge Data Store, AVEVA, Pi server, types and streams created automatically for you. So you don't need to worry about creating those yourself. They'll be all done automatically. But if you want to create your own streams, you absolutely can. And this is an important piece because this gets into a difference between the AVEVA Pi server and data services. Again, they actually use different storage under the hood. It's not just a collection of Pi servers or cloud VMs. This is actually a cloud native archive of AVEVA's own design. And what that means is it can do some new things that we've had industrial users ask for us. Specifically, you can create complex streams that don't just have a timestamp, an ID, and values in each of their events. They can have multiple indexes, multiple properties. So looking, for instance, at this complex stream, which was definitely created manually. Again, by default, simple streams will be created from a Edge Data Store or a adapter or Pi server. I created this one manually, but this one, you see, it has a timestamp as a key, but it also has shift as a key. It also has my X acceleration, Y, Z. So when I go and I look at viewing data for this, you can see I've got lots of columns here. So when you look at my X acceleration, for instance, you can see when I pull up data events for this complex stream, I don't just get a timestamp and a single value. I get multiple property values: shift, X, Y, Z, day of week, hour of day, multiple different properties all bundled in single events. So each of these rows is a single event, multiple different properties arrive with each event, and shift is actually also a key, allowing people to query this data, not necessarily on timestamp, but people can say, hey, how does shift 1 match up versus shift 2? And allows folks to work with their data in other ways in addition to with respect to time. So an amazingly powerful capability that some of our users are using. People want to learn more about complex streams and what you can do with them, please reach out. But in a nutshell, in case folks are wondering, hey, why do we call them streams? Why don't we just call them tags? Because it is a different way of storing data. Streams can store traditional tag data exactly as they do for things like from Pi servers, like you see right here, but you can also have these complex streams as well. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can work with these. I want to add one more topic here for stream views, and just showing you what it looks like when you hit add stream view. Stream views are basically logical overlays that let you customize your views of streaming data so they're much more useful for you. So you know how I said how you cannot change the type of a stream once you make it, but a stream view basically lets you say, okay, I want to take in a stream that belongs to a certain type and remap it so that I can view it as if it was in a different type. So you can basically like remove, rename, add properties without altering that original stream type. It actually doesn't alter the original source data. It only impacts the data when you're viewing it. So the idea being here, say like a process engineer or maintenance technician, they want to see different data in the same stream. You can have these views so that when each of them views that stream, they each see data with different units of measure or different property names. You can create those stream views for those remappings here. You could almost think of this as slightly similar to what you can do with PyPoint references in AF. So you can give like different names and units of measure. So just like that, this isn't altering the underlying data, it's just changing how it's represented for a different user. So in case folks hear the idea of, oh, well, each of these streams, it's created with a type that I can't ever change. What if someone actually wants to view this complex stream, with different names, or they want to view this stream with different property names or units of measure? Stream views can absolutely help here. So we just wanted to walk through right quick are some of the options and some of the areas that you'll be able to explore within the Sequential Data Store viewer here on Connect Data Services. Again, your Sequential Data Store is where all of your streams reside. If someone ever signs in here on day one, you won't see any streams because you don't have any data coming up. But as you start collecting new data from Pi servers, Edge Data Store, adapters, AVEVA MES, AVEVA Historian, all those, you'll see more and more streams appear. And you can actually see any of those streams. You can search for them and the search that we've built in. And you can, of course, use this to just directly see their data if you want. Like I could say, for instance, let me look at this accelerometer data by hitting View and Trend and go right to the trend viewer. Or if I wanted to view multiple, I could say, okay, let me do my X, my Y, and my Z. Let me also view these in my trend as well. And let's say I want to view this over the last 5 minutes. Let me do a stacked trend. Perfect. I can do this right in here. So you can explore your data via a list right here in the Sequential Data Store. You can search for the streams that you want. But again, if the data is coming from a Pi server, adapter, Edge Data Store, if it's being synced automatically from AVEVA software, like AVEVA Historian or anything like that, you're not really going to need to do much management here. These will all be taken care of, created, managed automatically. You do have management options if you want, of course. And if you want to change those permissions or share those streams, you can absolutely do that here. Or of course, you can do that programmatically through the API. So I just want to take you on a quick, slightly deeper dive on what you can see here in the Sequential Data Store in Connect Data Services. Some amazing material about this in the documentation. You just hit the help button on the top right and navigate on the left to Sequential Data Store. Under Data Management, Sequential Data Store, you'll see a ton of helpful content. Just wanted to show you what this can look like yourself. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to help. Thank you.